Welcome back, everyone, to our final session of Wednesday, the 8th of December. It is currently 7:45 UTC in the evening, which means it's almost time for me to have a whiskey or two. But first, we have a talk from Ashley from Daily. Daily's one of our platinum sponsors, so thank you very much, Daily. They put in 4 talks and that was before they had even said we want to sponsor. So absolutely fantastic, and all of the talks were great content, and so we said yes to all of them. So Ashley's going to talk to us about doing live chat, not live chat, doing transcription. Sorry, using mediasoup. But before she gets started, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. I'm going to be really quick here because we are running a little bit over time. So platinum sponsors: Subspace, Daily, Element, and Mux. Daily, Ashley's from Daily, so thank you very much to Daily. Gold sponsors: Taloo, 100 Milliseconds, and Dyke. Silver sponsors: Loway, Sangoma, Millicast, and WebRTC Ventures. Jambones, Telecurve, and Pion are our community sponsors. And then we've got PSP, Millicast, Broadcaster, Subspace, Element, Mux, and Meet Echo as our AV partners. And you can go talk to all of our platinum sponsors and our gold sponsors in their dedicated matrix rooms. And I think that's it. We've got lightning talks tomorrow. Currently, we've only got 1 entry. So have a think if you want to do a lightning talk. 5 minutes of talking about anything that is relevant to the industry. That's a very small caveat. I'd love to hear from more people within the community. So yes, there's time tomorrow and there's time Friday. Yes. Anyway, let's move on and hear what Ashley has to say to do with when it comes to transcription and mediasoup. I always love hearing about how people are using open source SFUs, and mediasoup is one of those. So let's take it away, Ashley, and I will see you all after Ashley is done in about 20 minutes or so, I think.
Thanks, Dan. So this is pulling text out of mediasoup and other magic tricks for captivating live transcription performance. That's me. I'll be your magician for the evening, or in my case, early morning. My name is Ashley Bluer. I'm the Senior Solutions Engineer at Daily. So this isn't a pitch talk, but I do have to start with some context, like why am I doing this? Why am I talking to you about it? Daily is a real-time video and audio API. We do a lot of things, and our fundamental goal is best developer time to value. So we achieve this by working through all the problem solving that needs to happen with WebRTC so that developers can get to building what they want to build as quickly and as easily as possible. That's the company mission. I'm sure a lot of people here at CommCon understand sort of the problem space there. So we're not a transcription service though, and that's what this talk is about. I do have a slide here about all the things we do at Daily. You can check that out later, or you can check it out on our website, daily.co. So about transcription, there's a lot of reasons why people want live transcription. Here are the few of the biggies. So 1, it's essential to people with hearing impairments, full stop. 2, it provides an instant replay of the conversation, so you can scroll up and see sort of what happened. It's also useful for note-taking in general. And the biggest of the biggies, in many jurisdictions, it's the law. Many institutions are required to provide what is considered equivalent access to material. This is especially true in the educational space and in any sort of government space. But I like to think about the value of transcription through the lens of universal design practices. So it's something that greatly benefits a small amount of the population, but it helps overall to improve user experience for everybody. So transcription is absolutely necessary for those with hearing impairments, but it also helps people that are in noisy rooms or people that are dealing with wonky headphones. It also helps people that have a better reading comprehension than a listening comprehension. This can be especially true for foreign language comprehension. For example, I can read Spanish better than I can hear it. I'm also guilty of being a fast talker, and so I think a lot of people appreciate transcription If they're having trouble keeping up with me, I'm one of those monsters that listens to podcasts at 2x speed, and then as a result, I speak faster. So back to my perspective at Daily. It's a big ask, and it's an important ask. So as a solutions engineer, it's my job to listen to what people want and then make it happen for them. So when I joined Daily last summer, there were a few lightly staked out paths where transcription could fit within our architecture. So I'm going to step through the design of each of those, the challenges that come with both of those options, and some of the lessons that we learned along the way. The first is what I like to refer to as bring your own transcription. We don't officially call it that. I just personally call it that in my head. It's a little bit of work on our customer's end, but it allows them to pair a Daily powered video call with the transcription service of their choosing. So the main benefit here is that it's as flexible as you want it to be. So we have written some sample code that outlines these steps that one would need to do to forward the audio tracks to the file, to a server, or directly to a transcription provider like Google Cloud speech-to-text service, or whatever Amazon calls their equivalent speech-to-text service. There's a few simple scripts, and we encourage people to read through the documentation here and expand on those scripts for their own use cases. But in order for the previous sample code to work, we had to do some work under the hood to get it working on our side and get this all set up. So I'll go into the details of what we're doing to make this work. I'm summarizing them here, and then I'll step through each of the 4 sections that you see on the screen now. So first, grab the audio track from each client. Second, we re-encode that from the browser encoded stream into a PCM audio stream. Next, we do a handshake between the Daily servers and the receiving servers. And then finally, we stream each audio in a WebSocket connection out to the receiving server or file or service, wherever you want it to go. So first, grab the tracks. At Daily, we switch the call from a peer-to-peer mode call to an SFU mode call if we're not already in that already. And that way we have control over the tracks coming in from each participant. We can actually send them somewhere instead of just facilitating that direct peer-to-peer connection. So we use a lot of mediasoup in order to do that. So after that, we establish an accurately named class instance of audio tracks web socket forwarder for the audio tracks. And then we're getting them set up and ready to send them away. So for that aspect, GStreamer plays a role here in transforming the incoming tracks from what the browsers give us to a single linear 16 PCM raw audio stream. So you may be wondering at this point, why are we doing this conversion in the first place? Like, why not just send the audio tracks, the actual raw audio tracks, like what's coming from the browser? And I've worked in media analysis and quality control for a long time. I've seen that a lot can go wrong when you put a lot of trust into what kind of data you're receiving, especially when the source is any browser, any version, any operating system. Like our customers are using all the browser options that are out there, all the mobile systems that are out there, etc. So we have to be able to make sure that if those change, we're up to date with that. So maybe I'll be more trusting in the future. I don't know, but because this doesn't add a lot of performance overhead and it creates a more reliable output, we're sticking with this sort of light standardization here. So we know what to expect, and then we know what our users, they know what they can expect from us. It helps to have some GStreamer experts on our team too. Not me, but other people. Okay, so after that, we establish a handshake between the Daily servers and the receiving server. This is done through the endpoint URI provided in the track forwarding method. For example, in the middle-ish of the screen, the start track forwarding, we have the WS URI, WebSocket URI, and then we pass in wherever we want it to go. When I'm testing, that's going to be in Grok. Production, it's going to be something else. So step 1, we send some metadata initially. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen. It includes tag, domain name, room name, user session ID, username, stuff like that. And somewhat importantly, the current muted or unmuted state. So the user needs to be able to mute and unmute themselves. That needs to be respected. We respect that. And that needs to be known by us, obviously, and also the receiving server, or however they want to manage that. So we're not sending their audio if they didn't consent to that. So step 2, then we just want to see a tag coming back to us that says ready, so we know that we're good to start forwarding those tracks. Pretty simple. So now that it's all set up, we're sending streams to the receiving destination. That's the essence of sort of a BYO transcription service, like from our platform to somewhere else. So this works great. It offers up a lot of flexibility for developers that want to do what they want with transcribed meetings. It's especially handy for published transcripts used as meeting notes. Another use case that is really interesting is like a near real-time translation support. I think that's a really interesting use case of like sending audio, making it into text, translating that text, and then sending that text back. So that's a pretty good use case. All these are pretty good, but we sort of were thinking that this one of these two paths that we're working in, the staked out path, it could be a little better. So one, a lot of people choose to build on WebRTC because of the low latency. So we want to be able to match that and get as close to real-time experience as possible. Two, it's not as deeply integrated into our product. We're doing that transformation and handshake work on our side, but the rest of it is more like a guide. The user has to build the rest out on her own. And then following up on point two, there's a good bit of work that developers have to do to build out this service. It's a great option to have, but it's not as closely aligned with my aforementioned goal of daily developer time to value. We want it to be quicker and we want it to be easier for people. We don't want them to have to think about all this. So we started working on option two. It's a more native approach to transcription. It's a tighter integration, and it's something that is less work for developers. Or it's less work for developers that are not developers that work in daily, I should say. So for this, we looked around the live transcription space. We decided to integrate transcription methods starting with Deepgram, with plans to roll out other providers at a later date. But we found through testing that Deepgram has similar values as daily. We felt that, especially around competitive pricing and making things as easy as possible for developers to get started with their product, that really fit the bill. So when we started, Deepgram didn't have a self-serve API, but now they do. They also start everyone off with some free credits to get testing. So that's a plus. Anecdotally, I've done a lot of testing while building out this transcription service, and I haven't really put much of a dent into our credits. So I feel like that's a pretty good sign. And I also forgot to put in these slides that I also think the quality is quite good. I feel like maybe that was just an assumption, but it is. I've been really impressed with what's coming back from this service. But let's go into how this works. So again, I'll step through each of these. Start transcription, call that on the daily call object by a meeting room owner. Next, we forward the tracks from a mediasoup server through WebSocket connection, just like before, just like I went through. Then we catch that transcribed text coming back to the daily call object, catch any errors, and then developers can do whatever they want with that text. And you'll notice we step through these. I'm going to include sort of the gotchas based on what my experience building this up. So one, users can start transcribing whenever they like, the simple method call to the daily call object. Sounds easy. This is abstracted under the hood, like the key part is making it as easy as possible for people to do transcription. One caveat is that you do have to set up your Deepgram API key, which involves posting it to us. It has to be accurate, it has to be up to date. You've got to have money in there or free credits. And I think there'll always be a bit of a tension here. In the future, we will make this easier for people to do it like in a daily dashboard instead of just using curl. But after that, after you set that up, it should be smooth sailing in a simple method call. Of course, if something's wrong, we'll give a clear error message that indicates there's a problem with the API key. The other caveats is that you have to be a meeting room owner, or if your app has those sort of kind of credentials, you have to be authorized as the owner as the application. This isn't so much of a problem in production level apps. You should be managing that kind of authentication. It's more of a problem for me when I'm testing and I forget to join the room as the owner every single time. So we also give a clear indication here that the user's trying to start transcription, but they're not the meeting owner, so they can't. I'm still on the fence about whether or not the room owner should be able to start or not start transcription. So that's something we'll keep exploring. Right now, I'm of the mindset that anything that can cost money to the people that are paying the bills, I tend to put that behind some sort of additional off level by default, with the possibility of overriding that in the future. I don't want any surprises. So next, should be familiar, we forward the audio tracks from the mediasoup server to the WebSocket connection. This is all the things we covered in option 1. We switch to the SFU mode, grab and set up the tracks, re-encode, establish a connection with the Deepgram API, forward the tracks via WebSocket to the API endpoint. We added a couple flags to improve the live experience. One, we set endpointing to false. Endpointing is indicating whether Deepgram will detect if a speaker has finished speaking or is paused for a significant period of time, indicating like a completion of an idea, which is the opposite of what I just did. And then also we set punctuation to true. This adds punctuation capitalization to the transcript, so it makes it suitable for becoming notes or appear overlaid on the screen as captions without a lot of end-user editing. The endpointing point, we wanted to, at least in my context, like living in the US, when we have public closed captioning, it sort of appears as blah, blah, blah. We wanted people to at least have the power to do that if they wanted to, endpointing to false. So you could do text, 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 text as it appears, but you also have the option to sort of just show the sentence itself. So we'll see a demonstration of that, and we'll talk to that a little bit more as we go through. We got the code on screen alert, but don't worry. We do have something similar to this sample copy. This is available on the Deepgram website. You can check it out there instead of squinting at your screen right now. The difference between the sample code and what we're doing is that we're forwarding a stream of audio instead of just playing it from a file. Basically open, listen for the connection, get that confirmation, begin sending the audio chunks to Deepgram API as linear 16 PCM audio. It just kind of works, so I'm happy about that. Didn't have a lot of problem with formatting and stuff like that. So as a reminder, we are converting from what the browser gives us to that specific format, just to keep it consistent. Deepgram does offer the ability to receive any type of audio that you specify. The format we chose is also the default format. So other than initially sending that wave header data over of the 44 bytes, then we just stream it out from there. So in addition to that simplified example, we do a lot of error catching and handling here. This is where I'm like, it's so easy, and then it's not. So we want the end user to have a clear idea of why something isn't working when expected. So any 400 errors, any 500 errors, an incorrect API key if that wasn't caught earlier on for some reason, etc. This is our opportunity to say, oh there, what's going on? We're also managing mute states here, just like before. So here on the on our SFU, or sending the pause or resume event, muted event, unmuted event. So after that, things are flowing. We send the audio tracks, and we have text delivered back to us along with metadata. Actually, it's metadata and then also text is maybe the better way to think about it. So on the screen here, here's what comes back. Includes the username, user ID, session ID, duration of the captured text, how long was the moment of time, its relationship to when the transcript started, how sure is Deepgram about what was being said is being said, that confidence marker there. And it also includes whether or not the text is final, which I alluded to earlier. You can grab segments, and because we're not doing the endpoint, we want people to be able to grab text as quickly as possible. They want to. But if you don't want that, it's still quite fast. You could do is final equals true, so that you are making sure when you're grabbing the text, you're just getting sort of what it considers to be the whole sentence. It's like maybe thought about it using its like AI brain a little bit. The confidence is going to be higher. Oh, and the text itself. In this example, I'm saying hello, and that's what comes back. So you can manage that as however you want. Everything comes back from the server with the ID of transcription. So you can use other app message functions, like we use app message for like building out chat or even sometimes managing state. So you can do that too, and just scope everything down to what's coming back from the transcription service. Overall, catching is the easy part. We're mostly just forwarding it all on. Making sure we take care of anything that could go wrong between two computers. It's a longer process. Like anytime you're going from proof of concept to something that scales out for broad use cases, and especially when it relies on user input in any kind of capacity, there's a really long tail of potential issues. So it's really taken a while to sort of build out what we need based on the proof of concept, which was quite quick to put into place. So now, but we're at the final stage. Developers can do whatever they want with the text. They can whip up their own magic tricks. This is a transitional slide. It's because I'm going to show you a clip of transcription in action, and it's me talking over me talking. So I wanted to be prepared for that. Here I am. So here's me demonstrating transcription in action. This is where I'm speaking in a video call. You can see me point to my cat. The text appears shortly after there's a cat behind me. In this example, I'm essentially adding my own in pointing, like I alluded to. So I'm only displaying the text when the text is considered final. There could be extra work done to sort of make it arrive like quicker, like each word of there's a cat behind me. That's it in action. And you can test this out too, especially once you have a copy of these slides, so you're not just, again, squinting at the screen. This links to a live demo. It creates a randomly generated room. You'll be in that room alone, and you can start and stop transcription. The second link is to the code that causes that to run. You can fork that, change that, do whatever you want with it. The license is under BSD2. So in wrapping up, what else? There's always more that we want to be doing, especially around the service. So first, we have to move things out of beta. That's on me to do. The second, which I think is really exciting, is adding language options. So Deepgram supports more than just English. And in fact, it's more than just American English, which is what we do have it set to. But you could also set it to English, the Queen's English or British English, and other languages as well. So that's also something that I have to do. And third, we want to add a more detailed configuration option for room level management. And that's sort of people can have a little bit more control over, maybe like changing that issue about meeting room owners, changing it so that it's not just totally at the domain level, kind of like a yes or no. Maybe some rooms can get going with transcription and some can't. It depends on people's use cases. We do try to make things as flexible as possible daily. That's also something for me to do. But the final thing is make fun stuff, and that's something that all of you can do as well. So let's summarize. Let's start wrapping this up, winding this down. 1, transcription is cool. Transcription is important. 2, always put the user needs first. What is going to be easiest for them? What will make the users the most happy? How can we continue to have that sort of flexibility? That's always the number one thought in my head as a developer, and I think it makes me a better one. And it also makes for a better feature. 3, standardizing streams always helps, in my opinion. Happy to have long rants about the importance of standardization and validation. A large part of my career part of this has involved that work. 4, don't forget about muting states. We didn't, but it would have been bad if we did. Just don't. And 5, error management takes much longer than the original proof of concept will. So make sure to time box and t-shirt size and scope everything accordingly. So that is it. Thank you for listening to my talk, pulling text out of a mediasoup hat and other magic tricks for captivating live transcription performance.
Thanks for that, Ashley. I'm just going to bring Ashley in now. So hello, real-time Ashley.
Hi there.
And bypassed Ashley because we recorded these about 3 weeks ago.
I got a haircut and everything.
Yeah. Terrible continuity. Anyway, I mean, yesterday I was wearing a green jumper and then it just randomly disappeared halfway through the talk. So anyway, I digress. It is late. So I guess my first question to you is about daily and mediasoup and the flexibility that mediasoup gives you, and the fact that it's open source and you're able to kind of use the open source ecosystem. So how flexible is mediasoup, and do you end up having to kind of fight with it, or is it kind of, because of the way that it's built in the first place, is it kind of easy to start building these kind of applications like transcription?
I think mediasoup is such a great open source project. And I think it does a really great job of flexibility. And I think that there's only been a couple of instances that I know of where some colleagues have maybe like sent in some patches and contributed, to open source, back to the open source project because it maybe didn't fit in whatever we needed it to do. I don't know if I could speak. It's that kind of thing where it's like you have infrastructure, it's working, and when it works, like you don't ask any questions. And so I can personally speak for developing this out that I didn't have any real problems with it, and everything has been sort of working around the SMU smooth. There's a lot of moving parts to daily that a lot of the work also ended up sort of being like just getting from the like server over to like an API endpoint that's very friendly and easy to use. And so most of the work ended up being sort of that part of winding through those paths of our infrastructure, and the mediasoup portion seems to work really well.
So I've got a question here. What if the final use is having a final transcript rather than a live caption? Think, for example, the transcript of a podcast. Would the implementation change in any way?
Let's see. If the final use is having a final transcript, one of my colleagues made sort of an integration with Notion, which is a popular way that people do note taking, so that it could sort of take the transcription live as it's happening, but then also spill it into there. So it has that available as a use case, or once you catch that data, you sort of do whatever you want with that. And I don't think it necessarily changes the way that I would think about how we implemented this, because we still just have to dump that text data somewhere else.
Right.
There's so many potential use cases for this. We just really focused on trying to make it as flexible as possible so that people could do that. Yeah, for like a podcast kind of streaming situation, to have that up later on like a log or something, or to be able to do what I think is a big customer ask, which is closed captioning.
Right. And then I think something that you covered in your talk, but someone's asked because they missed the beginning of the talk, what technology / models are used for the transcription engine? And you use, I can't remember, Deepgram, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we used Deepgram. Well, for the very first part of the talk, we sort of let it be up to what the user wanted to do. So they could use, and we had a customer using Google Translate in that case. They were sort of spinning up their own server, just forwarding the audio, and then they were sort of taking it from there. And then for our like big like official integration, we went with Deepgram, and we plan to integrate with other providers, but Deepgram was the one that, well, you can go back to the talk and listen to all the benefits of Deepgram that I listed there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there are so many other providers, and we had Mira and Zoa talking about transcription the other day. That really, it's just a case of, in the future, maybe being able to choose what's right for you as the end customer, rather than what Daily think is the right thing.
Exactly right. There's so much like working at Daily where we try to fit into what is sort of like the general use case. Maybe people that are not developers at all, and they just need like the pitch is like 2 lines of code to get started with embedding video. And so we're trying to serve that use case so that all they have to do is like click a button, transcription is going to start for them. And then for everyone else, we want to make it as broad and as flexible as possible, which makes building out these sort of features really interesting, because you want the general use case, but you also want someone to be able to like bring their own transcription, do whatever they want, or even just send it to different servers. Like maybe they have privacy issues or something like that.
Right. Due to wherever they are in the world with whatever laws and whatever they are in that particular region.
Yeah, we focus a lot on like HIPAA compliance. I know that's a kind of a US based thing, but maybe it extends to other regions too. I'm sure you have an equivalent one in the UK. But health-related data, there's specific rules that we can comply with to make that possible. And then they also need to work with a transcription provider that is also HIPAA compliant in the situation.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to Daily for sponsoring as a platinum sponsor again. And I'm sure Ashley will be around in the Matrix room on and
I'm
off.
very online, so it's easy for me.
So send her questions if you've got any. So that's a wrap for today. Wrap for the end of Wednesday. I can't get my words out. Wrap for the end of Wednesday. And we will be back tomorrow with some more content. Thank you very much.